All right, today we are diving into something truly fascinating. It's the new Generative Realities report from Dentsu Creative, and it's all about the massive push and pull that's defining our lives as we head into 2026. So let's get right into it.
And a very warm welcome to the Salon. I'm so glad you're here. This is where we break down the huge ideas shaping our culture and our future, one insight at a time.
So before we jump in, you're probably wondering where this all comes from. Well, this report is the real deal. Dentsu Creative talked to 4,500 people across the US, the UK, Brazil, China, and India. And they did it all in late 2025, so this is about as fresh a snapshot of our global mindset as you can get.
And this quote? This is everything. Seriously, this one sentence is the key to the entire report. It captures this fundamental tension we're all feeling. The insane speed of technology pushing us forward and our very human need to just slow down. It's a huge tug of war, and we're all right in the middle of it.
Okay, so let's start with the force that's flooring the gas pedal, digital acceleration. And specifically, we're going to look at how our relationship with AI is getting, well, let's just say it's getting complicated and a whole lot more emotional.
So the first big trend Dentsu points to is something they call electric dreams. Now, the key idea here is that AI is no longer just a calculator or a search engine for us. We're moving past the purely functional and into the realm of feeling. We're forming real, complex, emotional bonds with these systems.
And if you think this is some niche, nerdy thing, think again. Look at this. Over half the world, 53% of consumers, are already using AI chatbots in their personal lives. But here is where it gets really wild. For Gen Z, that number explodes to 70%. This isn't the future for them. This is just right now.
But what's really fascinating is the why. Take a look. For boomers, it's pretty straightforward. 73% are using AI for practical help. Makes sense. But then you look at Gen Z, and it's a completely different story. Only half their use is practical. The other 50%, it's split between getting creative inspiration and getting emotional support. They're turning to AI for things people used to only turn to other people for.
Of course, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, right? And that brings us to the powerful counterforce, the other side of this tug-of-war: human deceleration. This is all about our deep-seated search for something real, something tangible, in a world that feels increasingly digital. And you can see this deceleration pop up in trends Dentsu calls trad lives and analog futures. What does that mean? It means people are craving a connection to nature, to their local communities. They're embracing the look and feel of a world before algorithms. We're talking film photography, vinyl records, real face-to-face hangouts.
Now, if you thought that 70% AI number for Gen Z was big, get a load of this. A massive 75%, 3/4 of all consumers around the globe, wish they could spend more time out in nature. This isn't just a slight preference. It is a powerful, universal craving for the real world. And this isn't just a feeling, okay? People are actively trying to push back against digital overload. 40% of us feel completely overwhelmed by the online world. Half are actively trying to limit their screen time. And maybe the most telling stat of all, 2/3 of us look back to the 90s and 2000s and think, you know what? Life was just more fun back then.
Okay, so we've got this insane acceleration on one side and this deep human need for deceleration on the other. So what gives? What happens when those two forces collide? Well, that's what part 3 is all about, how we're learning to navigate this tension and finding new ways to cope, to escape, and to connect.
One of the biggest coping strategies is a trend called escape velocity. And it makes total sense, right? Modern life feels relentless, so people are looking for refuge, for a little sanctuary. And they're finding it in fantasy worlds, in passionate fan communities, and in what the report calls the cult of cute.
And the need for this kind of escape is not a small thing. It is very, very real. A huge 70% of people all over the world agree with the statement that modern life has too much pressure, and they just want to escape sometimes. That feeling is the fuel for this whole trend. So, how are we escaping? This is fascinating. The number one way for almost half of us is getting close to nature. There's that deceleration impulse again. But we're also seeing people diving into hobbies like crafting and even collecting toys. It's all about finding that release from the pressure of the modern world. Now here's another super interesting and complex trend that's bubbling up from this tension. It's called alone together, and it captures this really strange paradox. We seem to be lonelier than ever, But at the same time, we're working harder than ever to find new ways to connect and build communities.
And this chart just paints that paradoxical picture so clearly. On one hand, you have 63% of us spending a lot of time alone. And for almost 40%, that's translating into a chronic, nagging feeling of loneliness. But at the exact same time, more than half of us say it's easy to be social online. It's like we're living two lives, physically isolated, but digitally connected.
Okay, we have covered so much ground here. The speed, the slowdown, and all the weird ways we're coping in between. So what does it all mean? Let's boil it all down to the 3 absolute biggest takeaways you need to understand for 2026.
First, and this is the most important one, that central conflict, that tug-of-war between technology and humanity, that's not a side story. That is the story of 2026. Second, our relationship with AI is getting deep. It's becoming a source of creativity, comfort, and connection in ways we're just beginning to understand. And third, because we're all so tired of our screens, the value of anything real, local, natural, and disconnected is absolutely skyrocketing. That right there is the great balancing act.
And that brings us to our final thought. This whole report is like a map of the forces that are pulling us in all these different directions. So really, it leaves each of us with a very personal question. In this epic tug of war between the digital and the analog, between the fast and the slow, where are you going to find your balance?